Hi, this is Carla with Villa Bella Home, and I'm going to assume you've already done step 1 and 2, and now we're on step 3, and that is either to repaint or touch up. Well, in our particular business, we are always using an airless sprayer. So in this situation, I'm going to assume that you don't have access to those kind of tools. I'll show you an option that is useful and can do the job effectively as you try that step. So we like to use the Behr brand interior flat paint. Even though it says it has primer, the primer is not really effective. I like step 1 and 2. So we could have it tinted in a different color. In this case, it starts typically with ultra pure white, and then it could be tinted. This is basically the same kind of paint that you would put on your walls. So it is typically, quote, baby safe, and it doesn't have the being a low odor, etc., all from California, emissions and chemical, proper. These are things that they give to you at Home Depot when you order Lowe's. I like to use Home Depot. They have Behr. And you must stir it. Okay, so I like to stir the paint, and you open it up, and then I use, in some cases, a very nice little sponge. This is like a sponge you could get to recover a seat, and you can cut it up in pieces. You could use a sponge that you wash the car with that has very tight little web, or not really holes and textured bubbles. So I'm going to assume you don't have a sprayer. You could be using a very soft paintbrush. A lot of these paintbrushes I've purchased at Walmart or Hobby Lobby as a package. And one of the ways to keep the little furry pieces from coming out is you put some glue, crazy glue, on the very edge. These are very soft, and they typically, if you don't overload your brush, won't make a very lumpy mess. So I'm going to do a pretend thing. First I'm going to add moisture to my sponge. Instead of doing a completely wetting directly from the paint, I'm going to give it a little bit of wet. Then I would dip it. I would use my stir stick. I've stirred it, and now I'm going to add some paint onto my sponge on one side. And you notice I'm using gloves. So once you do that, you want to scrape it off the side. You don't want too much extra paint. And then you're going to wipe in a circular fashion a layer of paint. You can continue by adding, again, more paint. Same technique. Use your stir stick, wipe some on here, wipe off the edge into the paint bucket so it's not runny and lumpy, and you continue in a new area to add a circular, soft, paying attention that I didn't make any lumps, paint. Now you may need to do this a couple of times in between drying, and in between drying, you want to use a very soft, what they call fine grit, little sandpaper in between. Okay, you're not trying to remove the paint, but you're trying to remove any uneven surfaces. If you use the paintbrush method, again, you would dip it in the paint, you would wipe some off, and you would brush it on very gently and keep going. If you're going to do a big surface, you could use the sponge. I like the sponge better. But if you need a paintbrush method, these are very soft. They tend to do a nice job of not creating those paintbrush lines. So upon completing the steps with either touching up a mark, a scratch, I'm going to isolate an area, or I'm going to do the whole surface. I would now complete my steps of adding my color, my white, my off-white, whatever color. And this is how I would do it if I didn't have access to my professional paint booth and my sprayer.